maybe I'm the voice of the composer.
Mm. So this is why this relationship is so important.
Absolutely. This is really essential. When you don't get a good relationship, a good comprehension of the person, it's very difficult to understand the music.
Raquel, it's so lovely to meet you here on Zoom.
Yes, me too. Thanks so much for inviting me.
It's a great pleasure. It's such a privilege to talk to you because I've heard this lovely recording that you did. And it's by composer Yoram Mayoras.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I would love to hear more about this and how did you get involved in this recording?
In fact, I am, to begin, I am Israeli Belgian. So I lived most of the time in Belgium, in Brussels. And then I moved to Israel. I was born in Israel. And then I moved to Belgium, to Brussels, to study at the Conservatoire. And then I stayed for 40 years. And then I came back to Tel Aviv, you see. And then as I made, I love to make, new repertoire for the harp, so I began looking for the Israeli composers because I met some of the Belgians. So I said, now it's time for the Israelis.
Yeah.
So I met Yoram via the flutist, who is a friend of him for many, many years. And we began then to record the sonata, and then it moved to the psalms, and then it moved to the concerto, and we have a full CD recording with him, which actually I love. Yes, I love very much to make one composer CD because it makes the whole more aspects of the person.
Exactly, yeah. And the music is so calming. I listen to the music and it's really calming, the music. And I absolutely love the combination also harp and flute. So is this something is it just a coincidence that you wanted to be together and these two instruments?
No. We wanted to make a flute and harp combination.
Okay.
So it began with a sonata that we recorded, and then I asked him, Yoram, to compose for us a double concerto because the one who initiated the formula is Mozart, of course, with the flute and harp concerto. But there are not a lot of flute and harp concertos, especially not by Israeli composer. So this was the how it began, the whole story.
But that's wonderful. And so now you're saying you've worked with with composers in Belgium, and the idea for you to work with Israeli composers. Do you think it's important, or do you think there's less known about Israeli composers and musicians?
Well, I think it's like in every country. There are composers who are known internationally and there are composers who are locally. So, I don't know. I think that Yoram is beginning to be internationally because he won a prize in Vienna, and so before I recorded the last one before Yoram with an English composer who's very well known, Paul Lewis. He's is really very, very known internationally, and he composed the concerto for harp and orchestra for me, and the whole CD, in fact, is also composed. And then I try to promote as much as I can from every nationality. Yeah, I made one whole CD with a German composer 3 years ago. who is also very, very important. And Dirk Michael Kirsch, I don't know if you heard his name.
No, I
No,
haven't. No.
he's also a oboist, oboe player.
Mm.
He's from Munich. Mm.
But now, yeah, but now
Yes.
when you decide on working with a specific composer, do you also do you think it's also important the personalities to get together? Because I
Yes,
speak to a lot of musicians and they say how important it is this chemistry between them and working together, that there has to be this chemistry.
absolutely. I think that if there is no chemistry between the composer and the musicians, it will never succeed. It has
Yeah.
like friends. I mean, I always say it's music and friendship
Yeah.
because this is the combination of working.
I've heard this so many times. I've actually spoken to a bass singer who says he loves singing with friends. You know, it's wonderful if you can
Yes,
do that. Yeah.
yes, yes. It's like I think. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, no, no. Yeah.
No, I think it's like in a human relationship. I mean, when you have friends, everything is so nice and cool, and when you meet people that you really don't associate, so it's not always pleasant. So I think music is a language. So
Yeah. No, definitely. And I've spoken also to a few composers, and I ask the question that, it's of course for a composer, they want their music to be heard, but they also want it to be played. And I also, now that you're talking about this relationship, that you think you have to understand what the composer wants to say with through his music. So you are basically the interpreter.
exactly, exactly. Maybe I'm the voice of the
Yeah.
composer.
Mm. So this is why this relationship is so important.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is really essential. When you
Yeah,
don't get a good relationship, a good comprehension of the person, it's very difficult to understand the music.
yeah. But now, Rachel, you harp, it's a very complicated instrument that I've heard.
Yes.
And that we don't realize it because you always make it look so easy to play. But I've just recently spoken to a duo. One is a mezzo soprano and a harpist, and they were talking about this working together and how they have to understand each other. They have, the harpists have to understand the voice, and the singer have to understand the harpist. How did you and the flutist, have you worked together before, and how do you learn from each other?
Actually, it's the first time that we are playing together. Yes. Because as I told you, I've been living in Belgium for many
Yeah,
years. So I played actually with a flutist who is in the Bamberg orchestra. I played with him for many years. We made some CDs together, and so this is the first time that we are playing together, the flutist and me, Esti Rofe, and it was really such a nice, it developed in such a friendship, and it
really.
was so, yes, it was so happy, such a happy meeting. I mean, from
Yeah.
all point of view, and we really enjoyed it.
But do you have to understand each other's instruments to be able to play together?
Yes, yes, this is really very important. For example, if you play with a bassoon, it's different. If you play with a violin, it's completely different. I mean, every instrument has his,
Yeah.
language, and so of course the harp has to adapt itself, and also, for example, the flutist has to adapt itself to the harp because it's
Yeah.
different than to play with a piano or with strings, and it's completely different instrument.
Mhm. And how do you, is it just by experience that you understand these instruments, or do you discuss this? Do you talk about certain things? And
I think that now it comes by itself because it's
oh, okay.
probably the
The
experience of,
experience that you
yes,
have.
of so
Yeah.
many years.
Mm.
I played so much so many pieces in chamber music. So it's really the experience that I know now when I play with the flute or when I play the violin or cello or bassoon, I know that or clarinet, it's completely different, to play.
But now, Rachel, how did you start with music? What was the inspiration to start playing the harp?
Oh, when I was a child,
Yeah.
I heard a choir in Tel Aviv before I went to Belgium. A choir that sang with a harpist that accompanied the choir, and I was so, speechless.
Yeah.
Then I went to my parents and I said, I want to play the harp. And my parents said, are you crazy? Play the piano first. Because, first of all, we have to find a harp and the teacher.
Yeah.
So they thought, play the piano and then we'll talk. And, I insisted so much that finally they didn't have the choice. And I began playing the harp.
And was it because this is what I ask all harpists, because it's a big instrument and it's an expensive instrument, and it's also finding a harp teacher, because it's not like violin or piano that there are many teachers. So was there a teacher in your area that you could learn?
Yes. There was at the time the harpist of the Israeli opera that she lived actually not so far from my parents' house. And and I went to her and she agreed and she began giving me, lessons.
Yeah.
And then I continued and then I switched to the harpist of the Israeli Philharmonic. She was an American, and I learned with her. And then I studied at the Music Academy at the University of Tel Aviv. And when I finished my degree, I wanted to continue, and there was no teacher at the time for me. So they say to me that I could go abroad, and then I didn't know where to go. In fact, and I went to New York. I looked at the Julia, the teacher, the Manor School, and then I went to Brussels. Well, there was a really fantastic teacher, and then I decided to go there to study with her. Yes.
And then you stayed there for a very long time.
Yes, because when I came, so I was really very lucky, because at this time was in Paris was Pierre Jamet, who was already very, very old, but he was one of the, how can I say, the maestros of the harp. That he played all the Debussy, Ravel, he was the one that executed all these pieces. So you could learn from him the source of all the music, the French music for the harp of this important period. So I was going to Paris every week, in fact, to have lessons with him at the same time that I studied in Brussels. So it was really very, very interesting, really, absolutely amazing. And then when I finished the conservatory in Brussels, I wanted to go back to Israel, but then I was really very lucky, because the teacher at the Royal Conservatory in Antwerp moved to London. So the place was vacant, and I applied and I had it. So that's how I stayed in Brussels.
Oh, I see. Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were teaching then?
Yes.
But now it's for a harpist, because it's an instrument that not many orchestras have. I mean, yeah. So for a young harpist, what would your advice be? How to get into the industry and establish a name for themselves?
Well, I think first of all is the orchestra, because this is the base. I mean, but I think there are still a lot of orchestras, and every orchestra needs at least one major harpist, and then a second, very, very often. So I think this is the best to begin, because I think teaching, of course, it's wonderful, but now that I look backwards, I think that you really need a lot of experience yourself to be able to teach. I mean, it's like all instruments.
Yeah. And do you think it's also for a harpist, say, who's not going to play in an orchestra, that they what would be a good idea for them to be? Do they have to do different repertoire, or what would you say? What would be advice for them?
Of course, the largest repertoire would be, of course, the best. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, of course. But there is a very rich French repertoire. Yes, which is very important. The Belgians are very important
Really?
yes, very important in the harp repertoire. I mean, a lot.
Mm.
German, I mean,
Yeah.
British. I mean, really, there are a lot of composers to discover.
Yeah. And now, tell me, and your harp, have you had different harps during your time?
Yes,
Yeah,
I had really different. I mean, I began with a old Erard. I don't know if you know the names now. It's like
yeah,
uh, the one that built the pianos and the harp. It did
yeah,
many years ago. So this was my first harp here in Israel that I bought, a very old one,
yeah.
and then I switched to Salvi, which is an Italian harp. And then Salvi built for me a special harp with 8 pedals, because usually you have 7,
Yeah.
which are do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si. Donc you have 7 pedals. And he constructed for me a harp with 8 pedals, one that was dumping in the basses.
Okay. And
Yes,
why is that? Why did you do that?
because yes, why? Because I was playing a lot of contemporary music, and a lot of time you need to dump and you need to play at the same time, and it's very difficult to handle the two. So I asked them if they could build for me a really special harp that could help me in yes.
Yeah.
And they did it. It was really wonderful. It was built in Switzerland, uh, and they really built me a wonderful house, black one. And I played a lot, a lot. I mean, I think that I played more than 10 years on this harp, a lot of concerts, and then my teacher at the time, Susanna Mildonia, she sold her old Lion and Healy. Lion and Healy are American harps, and they are really the how can I say, the biggest, the oldest company for harps. And she sold her old harp, and I thought maybe I should change because I had already the Salvi harp, the new one, and I wanted to change a little bit the sonority. And I bought her old harp, which is here. I can show you if you want.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
that is
So
so beautiful.
yeah, so and then I thought that I recorded with a harp, and I played a lot, and then I decided to buy an extra harp, because I was using so much, and I said if something happened to my harp, I should really need a new harp. And then I began looking at the USA, for again, but I decided to take an old harp like mine.
Yeah.
And then to make you a long story short, I I, um, I came in contact with an American harpist from Los Angeles, and she wrote me and she said to me, Rachel, I have the harp of your life, and
Really?
you have to buy it. And I said, well, I don't know if I can pay it. I mean, and she said to me, I'm sending it to you. Don't pay to me. You will pay to me when the harp comes to you. A true story.
Yeah.
She sent me she sent me this harp. In fact, it was a harp that was by an American jazz harpist. and he died from AIDS. It was, I think, 25 years ago, this story. And she could buy the harp from him before he died. And she said to me, "This is your harp. There is no other harpist in the world that should play on it, only you." And she sent it to me without paying. And I say, and my husband said to me, "Are you crazy? What are you doing?" Yes. And the harp came totally. I opened it. I couldn't believe my ears. It's not a line in Ely. It's another one. It's a Wurlitzer this time. It's a German who went to the States and he began building harps and didn't make a lot of harps because he closed the, I don't know why, but I think maybe he made 40 harps, not more. And now nowadays there are really very few that stayed. It's like the Stradivarius, if I can
Really?
compare. Yes.
Yeah.
So of course, when I heard it, I became crazy. Of course, she came to Brussels with her husband, and they came to us, and of course, paid her the harp and everything. And since then, in Brussels, the harp is still there. So I'm recording only on this Wurlitzer, which is really amazing. And here I have the old line in Healy, which I bought many, many years ago.
Yeah.
So,
but you can't. But this is so interesting because the harp is such a big instrument, so you just can't pick it up and take it everywhere. So is this the reason why you leave the other one in Belgium?
Yes. So I live in the two places where I'm actually living. So
I love this. I love these stories when something is a story attached to something, because it's that sentiment, that
yes.
comes with it. Yeah.
Yes, it's absolutely amazing. And this story with the wool, it's really, a miracle.
Yeah. Oh, this is amazing. Well, you gave me goosebumps now when you told this. This is really so this is the harp that you play, that you did the recording with on the CD.
Yes.
Oh, this makes it just so much better to listen to now, now that I know the story. Yeah. I just want to ask you also about, now that we're talking again about the CD, the artwork on the CD, on the outside, on the cover of the CD. That is so beautiful.
Yes, it's also a story.
Yeah, tell me.
Yes, because I think it's an Israeli painter who lives in the States. And I don't know if you do you have the CD or you have only the music of the CD?
No, I have the music, but I saw the cover of the CD. Yoram sent it to me. Yeah.
Yes, because usually, I have a small label, a CD label, Harpist Company, and all the CDs, everyone has a cover with a harp painting. I mean, so, and I'm making a lot of research, to find, art with a harp, and so that I can use it. And then I was looking for a painting for our CD, for the Yoram Miyuchas. And then I saw this Israeli painter in the US who made a painting with a harp, with a harpist. So I contacted him and I asked him if he would like to make a painting with the flute and harp so that we can use it to the CD. And he made the painting, which is on the cover. He made it for us. His name is Gori Stark. Yes, he's very, very talented. And I think he also he captured the meaning of the CD. It's really in the painting.
I love that painting. I mean, I just thought it was so, and it's it feels as if it's a complete package almost. This beautiful music, this beautiful cover. It's wonderful. And I was also thinking it's so nice to actually have a CD. It's rather than just to download. And I think that meaning that you get when you get that, you see that cover as well. That is so beautiful.
Yeah, if you give me your address later, I should send you the real CD.
I would love that. I would love that. Thank you so much. But Rachel, that was now so lovely to talk to you. I just want to lastly ask you now, what is your wish for the future? What would you like to do still in this
Oh,
year, in
to
the
do
years?
the same as I'm doing. I mean, to promote a lot of new music for the harp. You know, now I'm working on a French project.
I really,
With the clarinet and harp, and also there is a French composer who composed for me a big sonata. I think it's almost 30 minutes for harp and clarinet. So yes, this is really very beautiful. So that's what I wish that I could continue and do. You know, to promote new music, old music that was not recorded, and to promote my instrument.
yeah. I think it's wonderful and also wonderful this collaboration with different composers that you do and different instruments that you introduce with your harp, I think, you know.
Yes.
For us non-musicians, you know, because for me it's always so wonderful to see all these things, these collaborations, and it's yeah, that you hear these different sounds.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me, really.
No, it's a great pleasure, and I would love to see what you do. You know, the next projects that you do and so on. That would be lovely to hear about that. So you have to
Okay,
keep me
we'll
posted,
stay in
please. Yeah,
contact.
yeah, no, definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
But
wonderful.
Rahel, have a lovely afternoon.
You too, and so nice to meet you.
It's lovely to meet you. But when you come to Vienna, you have to let me know so that we could grab a coffee.
Absolutely. You know that my grandparents actually were from Vienna. So I have a
Really?
special feeling, yes. So it's
Yeah.
double emotional for me.
Okay, so you will probably come and visit then
Yes,
one.
yes, I shall
Yeah,
come,
yeah.
shall definitely come and we'll meet. And
Please,
if you come to Tel Aviv or to Brussels, let me know. So
I
also,
will.
yes.
Definitely. Yeah.